alumnus of IIM Udaipur and NIT Durgapur. He has taken up various roles in the EC and also has been a president of a Hall of Fame and Golden Gavel Club, the City of Joy Toastmasters Club. He's not only the club champ of evaluation contest, but also the international speech contest and the humorous speech contest. He has a work experience of over 5 years and is currently working with Amul. Please put your hands together for Area Director of Area K2, Division K, Toastmaster Mehul Popat.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Komal. And that was a wonderful introduction. Can we have a round of applause for Toastmaster Komal for an energetic start which she gave us? So I have one question for all of you. We all are here for the Table Topics workshop by an eminent, distinguished Toastmaster. But I want to know how many of you are attending this workshop for the very first time. There may be many who want to repeat and attend a workshop. So can I see in the chat box 1? If you are attending it for the first time, just type 1 over here in the chat box. 1. I want to see 1. Yes. Shrishti, Kriti, Pratiti. Oh, wow. So many people attending for the first time. And how many of you are very new in Toastmasters? Maybe joined within a year, last 1 year. You can write me in the chat box. Yeah, Shruti Jain, less than 1 year in Toastmasters. Oh, Suganya, Koshilna, Ayantika, so many people. So everyone wants to learn how to excel in table topics, rather how to turn the table in table topics from one of the eminent Toastmasters who is going to come. But let me just tell you the secret of learning, because I know you are here to learn. So let me tell you the secret how you can learn it in faster way. So how many of you know about the 45 minutes rule? The first 20 hours rule of learning anything super fast. Anyone who is aware? First 20 hours of learning anything super fast. No one in the chat box? Anyone knows? Okay, so most of you don't know what is the first 20 hours. It is like if you put 45 minutes per day into any skill which you want to learn, you will excel in that skill. So you will learn that skill from top to bottom in the very depth, and you will excel in that skill, whatever skill it may be. So 45 minutes per day only for 1 month. That means 20 hours for that learning that skill. So if you want to learn table topics today, in fact, after a month, you want to be the best person in table topics, you have to start today. So for next 1 month, you have to practice for 45 minutes per day. This is the mantra which I am giving you. But it is not like 45 minutes random practice. You have to make sure you break down it into 4 different parts. First, you understand what you want to learn in that skill. Like you may want to learn voice modulation, body gesture, stage movement. Someone wants to learn how to do effective conclusion, how to make an engaging opening. Anything what you want to learn, break down into small parts. Then practice that thing. What you are wanting to learn, practice, learn and practice. And at the end, you will want to revise that. So the last part, learn, identify the skill which you want to learn, say table topics, make sure what you want to learn in table topics, say voice modulation, stage usage, anything, then make sure you practice that thing. And the final thing is remove that first frustration barrier of first 20 hours. So first 20 hours, if you dedicate, I'm sure you will excel in table topics or any other skill which you want to learn. So with this, I welcome you all to the Weekly Waffles of Wisdom of Division K, the 4th edition. Can we have a round of applause for Weekly Waffles of Wisdom? A very nice initiative indeed. So moving ahead, I will not make you wait longer because I know you are here not to learn how to learn anything fast. Rather, you are here to learn how to turn the table topics. So I want to introduce you someone who is hailing from the town of Silchar, a small town situated in Assam, and who has been in Calcutta for more than 6 years. He's a software engineer during the day, and in the night he converts himself into a short writer. Rather, he likes people calling him by his nickname, Ion. and he's a coder, a hardcore coder, and a fan of Satyajit Ray. So please help me welcome the current Vice President Public Relations and today's Master of Ceremonies of Weekly Waffles of Wisdom on how to turn the table topics, Toastmaster Ayan Chakravarti.
Thank you so much, Mehul. So I forgot to write in the chat that for me it is also 1. So that time I was preparing the video. So yeah, I'm also attending this for the first time. As an MC, this is also a first time for me. And I welcome everyone to this session. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, esteemed leaders of the Toastmasters fraternity, and distinguished guests. Thank you everyone for joining today's session as I welcome you all to the 4th episode of W3 session by Division K. W3, or the Weekly Waffles of Wisdom, is a series of online workshops that are filled with intense learning and aim towards the personal development of everyone who is attending the session. In each segment of W3, we invite a champion trainer who conducts the entire session where they speak about a specific aspect of a Toastmaster meetup, thereby offering the audience with immense learning on the aspect. And today we are going to savor a crisp waffle of wisdom on the aspect of table topics. Table topics, or the impromptu speech as we know it, is a section in a Toastmaster meetup which aims to help members think on their feet and speak on a given random topic for 1 or 2 minutes. Table topic speeches often test the presence of mind of an individual as they develop a topic into a story and quickly deliver it to the audience. But, and I say the but in capitals, what makes table topics fun and exciting is its impromptu nature of speech delivery, which often reminds me of the Tom Hanks starrer Forrest Gump, where his mother says, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you are going to get. I'm sure there are a lot of other learning aspects from table topics, and to throw the spotlight on them, let me take the pleasure to introduce to you all our champion leader and trainer for today's session, distinguished Toastmaster Abdul Rahim. Mr. Abdul Rahim is a Toastmaster for 12 years and has been a charter member of 5 community clubs in Kolkata. He was the district level table topics champion in 2013, evaluation contest champion in 2014, first runner-up in international speech contest in 2014, and second runner-up in humorous speech contest in District 82. He has served as an area governor, division governor, and assistant LGM. He has conducted several workshops at division and district levels. Apart from Toastmasters, he is a chartered accountant and an MBA who is associated as a Chief Knowledge Officer of IPE Global, the largest development sector consultancy firm in South Asia. He has been honored by the e-governance award by Government of India for PDS initiatives in Odisha. He is active on several other forums such as JCI, and has also founded his NGO called TSSF, which is doing significant work, especially for COVID relief and during Amphan cyclone that thrashed Bengal recently. So everyone, please give a round of virtual applause and welcome our trainer for today's W3 DTM, Abdul Rahim, on the virtual podium. To you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ayan. I was actually wondering who was being introduced because I know so many Ayans in Toastmasters, and I understand the other Ayan is also here. But really a pleasure. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Ayan. And I know you are first time, and I'm also first time in many ways. So not to worry. It's always about that doctor, you know. The patient was very worried as he was wheeled into the operation theater. And the people said, why are you so worried? He said, it's my first operation. The doctor held his hand, told him, don't worry, it's my first as well. So not to worry about it. Table topics is something which I think every time you face it is something new and something you take for the first time. It's a regular challenge, but something that with practice appears to become easier. So I'll just take you through my journey as a table topic speaker, as a table topics competitor, as well as a person who uses this technique outside Toastmasters as well. So I think we need to understand that table topics is not an end in itself. It is just developing the ability within you to be able to speak extemporaneously whenever needed. So if you can be a great table topic speaker, but find yourself tongue-tied when you have to speak to someone outside a Toastmaster setting, there's something that's not happening right. Okay. So let's focus on the skill that's required and how you can actually become a better table topic speaker, and through that, a better extemporaneous speaker outside Toastmasters. So let me first ask, I think I'll ask some questions as well. You all can, attempt it in the chat as well. I'd like to hear how many of you here, or you can raise your hands as well. I think I can see that. So how many of you here think that table topics is easy? How many of us think that table topics is easy? Yeah. Nobody's put up their hands. Okay. How many of you think relatively prepared speech is easier? Yeah, some of you all, okay. I can see some hands on the participant and some hands on the video. Some people think that prepared speech is easier. Okay, so let me give you a concept that Mark Twain actually brought out. It's a beautiful concept which says it takes me 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech. It takes me more than 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech. What does he actually mean by this? What does he actually mean by this? When I heard it, I thought, as usual, he's using satire, he's using humor, he's trying to paint something which is not realistic. But then I realized that there is truth in what he's saying. What he's actually saying is that you can prepare yourself for impromptu speaking, for table topics. And how can you do that? The question arises. I think just before this, Mehul was talking about learning how to learn and the rules of learning, right? Can you reduce the surprise element in impromptu speaking? That is the real challenge. Okay, let's take a situation outside Toastmasters. Whenever you're going to be asked to speak, let's say you've made a presentation, and at that point you are asked some questions after a presentation. That's impromptu speaking, right? Maybe you're in an elevator with somebody and you're instantly asked about your business, your new product, new venture. That's an elevator speech that we talk about, right? That's also an impromptu speech, right? Can you reduce the uncertainty in those speeches? Can you? I think, let me just put it on chat. I'd like you to put it on chat. I think we can. And if you think we can, how can we do that? Yeah. How can you reduce the uncertainty in an impromptu speaking role? Any ideas on that? Shadow practice, okay. Rosalina says shadow practice is one way. My voice is repeating again and again, is it? Shruti? We can by extensive reading. Pratiti says, yes, one way is to continue and have a lot of reading. Okay, fine. So you have some ideas in terms of how you can do it. Now, I'll give you a suggestion on how you can reduce the impromptu nature of a speech. And this is for general purposes. See, what we need to do is wherever you are going, for whatever purpose, always expect to be called to speak. Always expect to be called to speak. So you are in the frame of mind of speaking. For example, you are called to let's say a parent-teacher meeting. And in that parent-teacher meeting, when you're sitting with other parents around, suddenly the vice principal comes in or the principal comes in and he says, well, what do you think about your child's progress or something of that sort? Now that's again an impromptu speech. Now you've got to be mentally ready for that at any point. And second, you've got to imagine all the likely questions that are likely to occur in that situation. If you can do that, you will see that no matter what question is coming up, you would be mentally prepared and thought about what answers can be given to that. For example, in a presentation to a corporate boardroom, let's say, you made your presentation and you are expecting some questions from them. Now imagine those questions beforehand, be your own critic, be your own questioner, be the devil's advocate, as they say, and ask those questions to yourself about what exactly they might ask you. And let me tell you, this is a technique that is used by all people before press meets, corporate press meets, political press meets, and all these are practiced beforehand. The answers are written by the speech writers as well, and they actually rehearse. So when a question is asked, they are already aware of what kind of questions are possible to be asked, and they have the answer ready. Now, this situation, this kind of practice cannot happen in a table topic session because you frankly don't know what kind of questions may come. But nevertheless, imagining topics will always hold you in good stead because you will never be surprised by whatever comes up. I'll give you an exercise on this later. But I want to tell you that in life, the only way to reduce the impromptu fear factor is by preempting what kind of questions are coming and to always imagine that you will be asked. Now, let us go into some of the factors. What exactly is an impromptu speech? Now, if I look at the first on the right side, we have a prepared speech. We have studied quite a bit about it. There are manuals on it. There are projects on it. There are so many workshops on it. We've seen so many speeches on it. So we know there's a body, there's an introduction, there's a conclusion, there's a attention calling opening, there's a call to action, there's a delivery technique. All these are there. So we know as a cake what is prepared speech. I want to tell you that the impromptu or the table topic is nothing but a slice of that. So it does not do away with any of the requirements that a prepared speech has. Of course, you don't have to have the scale and you don't obviously have the time to prepare. But apart from that, you have to have most of the elements that were there. You may not have 3 points. You may not have 20 subpoints because you don't have the time. But you do have to have an introduction, you do have to have a conclusion, you do have to have a structure to it, and you have to have delivery as well. So first is, let's take away this idea that prepared speech and impromptu speech are absolutely different things. How many of us think, what is the purpose of table topics? Tell me this. What is the purpose of table topics? When you are asked to come up and speak there, what should be your objective of that speech? Many people say just standing up and speaking there for 2 minutes is an achievement in itself, right? But beyond that, what is it? To be quick on your feet and make sense as well. So I should be able to be quick, to think and make sense. So I should have a cohesive speech, right? Presence of mind. Can I come up with something which is different? Okay. To impress, Pratidhi says, I want to make something that will make everyone be impressed. Okay. What else? Any other thoughts on this? How do we look at table topics? See, when we think of a prepared speech, we can work all these things on our thing. We can impress, we can think of the right words. But in a table topics, we don't have those liberties. So what do? Learn how to organize our thoughts. Okay, Kirti, yeah. Sometimes that's one of the outputs of this. But essentially, many of us assume that merely standing up there, speaking for 2 minutes, and somehow making sense at least is an enough achievement. It's not. It's not sufficient achievement. Let's come to what exactly we should look at to achieve in a table topic and how we can achieve that during this session. I want to first of all give us a little mindset change. Let us first think of something else. Our table topic speech is nothing but a game. Let's take it like that. Let's just imagine like that. It's a game. It's not a judgment about us. It's not about whether it will be perfect or not, whether we'll be great or not, whether we'll get the perfect thing, but it's a game. And just like a game, you get better with each time you practice. Can we take this as the first foundational thought in table topics? Whenever you are asked to go up and speak, think of it as a game. Now, what happens when you say enjoy playing cricket? And no matter what the situation is, but you're asked to go out there and play, you enjoy playing it, right? It doesn't matter if you really score a century. It doesn't matter if your team really wins, but you enjoyed the game itself. So can we look at it first as a game rather than as some sort of guillotine where if we don't perform well, our heads will be chopped off? A lot of us feel like that. In fact, in real time, when we didn't have Zoom and all of us would be hiding our eyes before the table topic master so that nobody could be spotted by him. That's not the real purpose. So I think just think of it as a game, as a starting point. Second, have two empowering beliefs. Just like a cricketer, like say Sachin Tendulkar would go out over there, he believed two things, and all of us should definitely believe that. I will definitely speak. I will definitely speak. But I will not always have a great speech. Why am I telling you this? Why am I saying that we should sort of allow ourselves to say we won't always have a great speech? Because the pressure of trying to be very good, pressure of trying to perform excellently, sometimes makes us perform below par. Sachin Tendulkar did not always go there to score a century or to make the team win. He many times went there because he enjoyed playing cricket. Incidentally, you may score a century. Incidentally, the team may win. But you are going because you enjoy doing it. All right? So I want you to understand that this skill is something very, very valuable, very, very useful. And you are going there as a person to play this game. And you will definitely speak and you will enjoy that speech. And it doesn't matter if it's not really that great. But with practice, you will improve. How many of us will think like this? Can I have a show of hands on the participant list? You can just press that button called raise hand at your end. Yeah. How many of us can act? How many can relate to this? How many of us think that this was a pressure that was on our head where we had to suit and achieve certain target? We had to achieve a certain level. Otherwise, we'd be, kind of reducing our own value in our own eyes. I'm allowing you to fail. Let me tell you about a story myself. My own story. I participated at this time. I'm talking about maybe 2008 or something of that sort, right? It was maybe our first ever contest. At that time, entire Calcutta, forget about divisions. It was not, I think it was an area. That's all. The entire Calcutta was an area. I participated in the club contest on table topics, then went to the area contest, won that. There were two of us, the first and second. We were both supposed to participate in the division contest. Now, surprise, surprise, the division contest was being held in Delhi. Delhi was the division headquarters. And I and the other colleague, Shayani from TCS, both of us took the morning flight to go to Delhi. The division contest was in IICC in Lodhi Road. We went directly from the airport to there. And this contest had almost started because we were slightly late by the flight. And then we had our contest over there. I still remember the topic. I went up on stage. It was the first time. It was a huge stage. I think there were 250, 300 people in the auditorium. Huge stage. And there were so many lights. For the first time, I actually faced so many lights in my life. And I couldn't make out anything. Who's there? Where's the light? Nothing. And the topic was the best time of my life. I still remember that topic. I don't even remember what I spoke over there. I just don't remember. But I talked about something like, this is the best moment of my life. After all, the present is something of that sort. But once I came down from there, I knew I just messed it up. As expected, I didn't place anywhere on that. And both of us came back by the evening flight. But you know what? I learned something from them. I learned about how to deal with an audience where you can't see them, just like I'm dealing right now. I learned how to look at the lights, at the timing lights, despite the lights around you. I learned about catching attention of the people in the audience. And I learned about being better prepared for a table topic than just wishing based on your past laurels to go up there. So I want all of us to think this. It's perfectly fine to fail. I can tell you, I think a year or two after that, that's when I won my table topic championship. That learning was very, very critical for me. So allow yourself to fail, but definitely go up and speak. So I think get these two beliefs first. Be like Sachin Tendulkar. You're going there for the game itself. You love the game so much. And you may score a century. You may not score a century, but it doesn't matter. You'll still enjoy it. So I want you to have these two empowering beliefs. The second thing which I want to tell you is whenever you receive a topic, what happens within? Somebody starts speaking. Hey, what are you going to say about this? You could talk about this, but also about this. Hey, this is something really good. What about that? Or, hey, what can I speak about this? Even if I speak, it's never going to be as good as the other participants. So what should I actually do? Oh my God, why didn't I get a better topic? How many of us face this? Let me see a show of hands on the participant list, participant icon. Yeah, everyone. A lot of people are raising hands. A lot of people are mentioning on chat. A lot of us have this every time, and most people have this. Most people have this. Let me give you the technique to overcome this. Just stop listening. Stop this internal dialogue. You will just not listen. I know it's easier said than done. You will say, sir, you're saying, but once I go over there, it speaks so loudly, I can't avoid it. But then you know what? You've got to silence it in phases. You've got to stop thinking about that, absolutely, and start focusing on what I'm going to come next. So I'm just saying, be aware of this dialogue and be aware that this is what is stopping you from speaking fluently, eloquently, and enjoying the talk. It's this internal dialogue, which is constantly bombarding you, judging you, and asking you questions. So therefore, what should you do? What should you do? These are foundational beliefs I'm trying to clear. Then I'll come to exactly what to say and how to say. But I want us to get over this first, because this is often what is stopping us. You'll follow what is called the first thought rule. The first thought rule. First thought is the best thought. Whatever idea you got in the first thought, you will stick to it and you will speak on it. You know what? I'll tell you, in the competition that I eventually won, the topic was, to err is human, to forgive is superhuman. To err is human, to forgive is superhuman. I went up to the stage and I had no idea what I had to speak on, what I could speak on it. I had no idea. I just said, well, the original quote was actually, to err is human, to forgive is divine, if I'm not mistaken. So I went up and said, well, that's an interesting take on to err is human, to forgive is divine. But I think there's a reason why it has been done. Because when we say something is divine, it actually appears outside our touch. It appears something for only a few select few people who can attain that divinity status. But for most of us, it's not achievable. But when we recast it as superhuman, all we are saying is just an inch above human. So all of us can try and achieve that. There are occasions when we err, and everybody errs, but only by forgiving them can we be true humans, superhumans. And then I gave a story about Pope John Paul, which came to my mind immediately at that time. And eventually that speech won. But what I'm trying to tell you is that when I spoke over there, I had no idea what story I was going to share, what is the message I was going to come up with. But my initial thought was, hey, this is a twist on the original proverb or original saying. So let's me acknowledge that. And that worked itself. So the principle I'm asking you to do is, whatever thought comes to your mind, go with it. Trust your conscience, your subconscious, and let that allow you to speak. So stop all internal dialogue by trusting the first thought. Is that all right? I think you might say, well, what if I get a better thought later? No problems. No problems. I got a better thought later. I came up with a Pope John Paul II story where he forgave his assassin by going to jail, a person who had tried to attack him in Egypt as he was on a tour over there. And he went in jail and met him and forgave him. And I just quoted that story. That came to me while I was speaking. So no problem. You will get stories aligned to that. Even if you don't get stories aligned to that, you get something else. I'll give you a technique to move on to that as well. Okay, so everybody with me? Can I see a raise of hands? The first thought principle. Rely on the first thought that comes to your mind and speak. Now, many people say, sir, the first thought that comes to my mind is, yes, I agree. Because whenever I get a proverb, this is the only thing I can think of. When somebody says, honesty is the best policy, I come and say, yes, I agree. After that, I don't know what to say. Now, we're going to change that, okay? But once we are through with the fine foundational principles, let me come up to how you can make your speech more and more interesting. Okay, let me move on. You see, the thinking process is something like this. And all this happens within fractions of a second. We have been amazed, we have been gifted with this amazing tool called the mind. And we are supposed to use it like a good computer, maintain it like a good computer. And you see, this is the process through which that whole thinking happens within that 1 to 2 minutes. You first start with not knowing what to speak. You just go ahead and start with your first thought. And by that time, your mind starts functioning. And suddenly you get a brainwave, a bright idea, like I got about Pope John Paul II. And you quote it, and then you end with an exclamation by say, hey, so therefore, let us not be thinking that only the divine can forgive, but you, I, and everybody of us, by only stepping an inch up from our humanness, can actually become superhuman and become part of this by just being forgiven, by forgiving people. That's the kind of message you can give, and close with an exclamation point, which is an impact point. Remember this process. Never think that you will need to start with that exclamation point at the beginning. You may not have it. If you have time to prepare an impromptu speech, maybe a couple of minutes, you might get it. There are some such occasions where you do it, but not in Toastmasters. In Toastmasters, you have 30 seconds, but I don't even suggest to wait that much. Just start with your immediate thought, because if you wait for 30 seconds, your internal dialogue kicks in, and then it's difficult to avoid it. Okay, so take a few 10 seconds, 15 seconds, put yourself on the spot, be comfortable, appear to be confident, look at people as you do, and then start enjoying by speaking the first thought that comes to your mind, which is already there. And then you will get your ideas. Remember one more thing, the ability of the mind to think is much more than the ability of the speech to speak. So you will keep on getting thoughts even as you are speaking. So not to worry about that, you will surely get the idea that will spark it. Okay, so let's remember this process. Okay, now what is the purpose? I think some of you all said this, that our purpose is actually to give a cohesive speech. Our objective is to think on the spot. Our objective is to make sense, and so on and so forth. I'm going to give you a philosophy. Our each table topic speech should achieve this purpose. And I'm going to give you this purpose over here, which you should always hold in your mind. The purpose of every table topic should be a value add to the audience. A value add to the audience. You remember in all our prepared speeches, we say WIIFM, what's in it for me? It doesn't not apply to table topics. What's in it for me? Now, obviously, you haven't thought through it enough to give them a huge plan of action. You can't give them tremendous insights, but you have to add some value to their life, some new way of looking at that topic, rather than saying, I agree with it, and narrate a story around it, which basically gives them no value add. Let's say honesty is the best policy is the topic you have. And you say, well, I agree with that. And, when I was small, I had seen that, money dropped over there, and I picked it up and I gave it to that person, and he patted my back and he says, good job. Honesty is the best policy. What's the value add? What's the value add? You spoke, you organized your thoughts, you spoke sanely for 2 minutes. You may even, have good delivery, etc. Everything's fine. But where is the value add? If you want your speech to be memorable, if you want your speech to be a winning speech in a competition, you've got to think differently. What's the value add? What am I going to add differently? It need not be a call to action. It could just be a different way of looking at it. For example, as I mentioned in my speech, I had taken that superhuman versus divine concept and brought it out. That itself was a value add. Not that I thought of it as structured that way, but then it came that way. So now I want you to think, what is the difference? What is the new thing? What is the value add I'm going to add to this topic whenever you're thinking of that speech? Okay. Is that okay? Everybody with me? Can I have a show of hands, please, on the participant list? Because unfortunately, if this was a live session, I could have spoken to you all. We could have had, actually people speaking and showing, but this is just my only way of having some interaction. Okay, great. So let's understand this. Our purpose is value add. Let me share with you one example, another example that I strongly remember. This was a speech by Naveen Mishra in Kolkata Toastmasters. Again, a person whom I strongly and very, very, respectfully look up to as an impromptu speaker. And he's an impromptu speaking table topic champion as well. I still remember he got a topic which was called crow, pebble, water, thirst. These were the 4 words given to him in a table topic. Now imagine if this was given to you or me, what would we speak on? The old story about the crow who was very thirsty and he found a can of water, but he could not go inside. The water was too low. So he picked up pebbles and put it in and the water level came up and then he drank to his liking, right? Is that what we would talk about? Am I right? I still remember what he talked about. He said, Martin Crow, the New Zealand cricketer, has faced several problems in his life. They were pebbles in the way to the water, which was his actual success in cricket, which he wanted. But his thirst for cricket kept him going. And he talked about a few examples from his life because he knew them and he tied it up all together. Now, guess what? That speech must be at least 10 years old. At least. I still remember it. And that's because it was a value add. Not because it was the same obvious crow speech which anybody of us would give. So ask yourself this question: what is my value add in this topic going to be? And trust your first instinct and work on that. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next, which is the topic that you receive. Okay, all of us receive a topic, and all of us assume that that topic is clearly understood by everyone, and therefore there is no scope for any interpretation or any aspect of it to be looked at. That's not true. I just gave you the example of the topic that I got. To err is human, to forgive is superhuman. And I took one aspect of it, which is superhuman versus divine, and spoke on it. Now you, on any topic, can decide which aspect to speak on. A topic is not a given. A topic is a beginning. It's got several questions in that one question. It's got several topics in that one topic. Which angle are you going to take? Which aspect are you going to take? What are you going to emphasize is up to you. It's up to you to interpret it, up to you to present it. So always start thinking, like, okay, going back to the example of Naveen Mishra's speech, the crow and the thirst and the pebbles in water, right? He didn't take it in the literal sense. He took it in an allegorical sense. Why? Because he took this interpretation and this aspect on his own. And that's available to you as well. You can take for example, somebody says, who would you vote as the most successful person of the 20th or 21st century? Let's say. Who would you vote as the most successful person of the 21st century? Now you could easily go up and say, well, what they want is a name and a justification for the name. So let me give that. Now that's one way of looking at it. Another way to look at it is, who is the most successful person of 21st century? Should that be decided by a vote, or should facts bring it out? What should be the indicators on which we should assess? Now, what are you going to do? You are taking an aspect of it called vote. And there are several arguments against voting. If you know a lot of them, you can talk about them. Voting is the only method in which people are counted. Their opinions are not weighed. Everybody has the same vote. So you can say, just because some group or some country has a large number of people, does not mean that person should automatically get that title. But there should be a different criteria. Now you've gone to a different angle of that speech, right? Similarly, there are some abstract topics which lend themselves to huge interpretation in this case. I still remember, there was a topic at one area level contest. I don't know if some of you must not have seen that. This was also, I think, 10, 11 years ago. The lazy lobster gets carried away by the tide. Have anybody of you faced a topic like this? I'm going to ask you incidentally to give me your most tough topics you've ever faced. And this, I think, was one of the most toughest topics I also got right at the beginning of my career. The lazy lobster gets carried away by the wave or by the tide, something like that. Now, obviously, it talks about not doing anything. It talks about being with everything, but you can take it in so many ways. In so many ways. Let's say you get this topic today. What all can you connect it on? Give me on the chat. What all can you connect it on? Think about it. How can I interpret this topic? How can I take this topic to apply to something else? The lazy lobster gets carried away by the tide or by the wave. What would you interpret this? What could you interpret this to? Any ideas? Adaptability. Okay. What else? Procrastination, distracted. Yes. You could take up any of these themes. People may think you're lazy, but you're making them work for you. Very interesting, Ronak, right? So free to move, flexible, against growth, prevents the lobster from the fisherman's eye. Just look at it, beautiful. Okay. The lazy lobster may get carried away by the tide, but he's moving away from the fisherman's net. So never think when you're doing nothing, the divine is doing nothing. He's moving you in the direction. Look at COVID. We may have all slowed down. We may be like lazy lobsters moving across by the large wave of COVID. But aren't we all moving towards the right direction, where we are re-evaluating our priorities in life, where we are actually re-looking at what really matters, where we've adapted ourselves to technology, where we've adapted ourselves to working from home, where we are still surviving? And that is how a lazy lobster, despite being taken away by the tide, still wins. I'm just saying this is one way of looking at it, right? When we leave things on destiny, we lose. Don't join the bandwagon. A lot of ways. So now I'm just saying, think of one such thing and then ask, is this adding value? Is this not something which obviously they would think of? Then give that idea. Do a linkage between a couple of things which are not known on their own, right? Like I just linked it to COVID because that's contemporary. So linking it to something like that will make it more attractive. So you could always start up by thinking, well, it's an interesting topic, but have you ever thought of yourself as a lobster? Don't be worried. I'm not saying you are literally a lobster, but metaphorically, perhaps all of us are lobsters today, reclining in the comfort of our homes, saving ourselves from what think is imminent death outside by COVID, but not understanding that we are actually flowing with the tide that has been set by the divine, and we shall actually move to whatever. I'm just saying this is on flow. Trust your conscious, trust your subconscious to give you that idea, and just flow with it. Okay, so I'm giving you this big, shall I say, handle to interpret the topic. Decide which topic, which aspect of this topic you want to talk about. And this is exactly what I talk about as the frame, the frame. This, many of you must have seen it or visited it also. This is I would say 2018, the most important landmark of Dubai, right, Panna? So, of course, every year they wanted to have newer and newer landmarks. So they had so many landmarks already that this competition of architecture actually came up and said, we don't need a new landmark. We just need a new frame to look at it. And no matter which side you look at it, you get a different picture of Dubai. There's an old Dubai, there's a new Dubai. And that's the frame I want you to have. What is that frame through which you look at that topic? And what is the criterion of that frame? The criterion is value add to my audience. So spend your time on that. And as soon as you get the best first idea on that, move ahead without thinking, without any further internal conversations. Okay. So I think this is an image to keep in mind, the frame for their topic. Okay. I'll give you two techniques which a lot of people use, and these are useful techniques. One is, of course, the story technique. The story technique. Now, what is the story technique? The story technique is about talking about a personal story from your life. Why is this important? Because all of us have heard the stories about Abraham Lincoln's and Winston Churchill's, but nobody has yet heard your story. I keep saying that the only blockbuster that's waiting to be released is your story. So try and use your story in this. This is a very powerful and a universal technique. Whatever your value add is, you can take that to some story. Now you might say, but sir, I don't have that many stories, or my life is not as interesting. I can't get so many stories. Now that's something which we can improve. You know how? Just by reflecting, analyzing, and re-evaluating our own lives. Sometimes there are very simple things which we ignore, which we eliminate, which we just overlook. But when it is seen by somebody else, it suddenly looks profound. I can tell you that even the international speech contest has been won on very, very simple stories. I still remember one story by a champion who just spoke about how his or her car broke down in a highway, and a person who she didn't know at all just came in and offered her help to get her car back repaired. And that one thing shall we say, rekindled the hope in humanity for that person. So I think just very simple things which we have. I'll give you some exercises on that. But please understand that your most potent weapon, your most powerful tool is your story. But for this, you need to do some exercises. What is the exercise? First is, think of your mind like a hard disk. Whenever you have a hard disk and you use you need to access something on the computer, you select it on the folder, the hard disk drive lights up because it's searching. The needle is moving around the disk to try and locate where it is. You've got to keep your mind such that it is ready to do a quick scan of anything. Quick scan. So the moment you say, let's say forgiveness, it should go to your mind to Immediately come up with a story on that, your personal life story or some other story you've learned. Now, the faster you can do this, the better speaker you will be. How can you do this? Do this exercise regularly. Pick up random topics and start doing a quick scan in your life and find out what is it that I know on this. I'll give you some exercises at the end of it, which will help you to develop this skill. But remember this, you have enough stories in your mind already. Just the question is accessing it and giving it right then. Okay. So this is one technique, story. The other technique is called the prep technique. I'm just giving you these two techniques because these are useful techniques to be used in most cases. This technique is called prep technique, which is a simple thing. For example, as I said, a statement is given to you and you need to speak on that. For example, I spoke on, as I said, to err is human, to forgive is superhuman. So I give my proposition, which is my statement of what I believe in that. I give my interpretation of divine and superhuman. And then we move on to the reasons. Why do we say, or why do we think this is so unique? Why do we agree with this proposition? What is it that we say? And then we come up with an example or a story around that. For example, I gave the story of Pope John Paul II. And then you close it with the proposition or the final statement, your position that you're going to be talking about. This is a very simple technique. Think about it, prep, right? Preparation, preparing yourself for public speaking, preparing yourself for table topics, use this technique, prep. Position, reason, example, and position. Position means concluded, just like you tie up a speech in a prepared speech, just do that over here. So these are the kind of two techniques that I want you to know. Apart from that, you must remember the other techniques. I talked about it. We are only a slice of the cake. So introduction, body, and conclusion must be there, which I talked about. For example, in prep, the position is your introduction and the conclusion or the value add part is your conclusion, which comes in again. The body would be obviously shorter than a prepared speech, one point at most, one story or one incident at most, not more than that. That, of course, you'll have to be based on the time that you receive. This is a very important part of impromptu speaking, transitions. As I mentioned, once you start speaking on your first thought, you'll suddenly get a second thought. You'll suddenly get a third thought. And you get more thoughts the moment you get off the podium. But let's discount them for now. But for the moment, when you get that second thought, that third thought, which ties in with your thought, quickly, if it's good enough, move on to it with a quick transition. For example, I could have started by superhuman and all, and then I suddenly got that idea of Pope John Paul II, and I would come up, so I would transition by saying, well, superhuman or divine, there are people in this world who have exemplified it. A person like that is Pope John Paul II. And then I moved into that story because it suddenly came to my mind. So that transition is a power to move from theme to theme, which may not be directly related, but if you can master this transition, you can move seamlessly. And your conclusion may actually be different from your introduction, but as long as you can transition it out. So you might say, well, you started off by thinking it's divine, right? But you end up thinking it's only superhuman. And all of us have the power to be superhuman. That's the end, finish. I don't talk about the divine now. I moved on. Transition is a powerful technique in table topics. Speech delivery, needless to mention again, it's as important as in prepared speech. Obviously, less preparation makes you more vulnerable, but the only way I again say is trust yourself. And the more you do of it, the better you will get. It's a game, right? The more shots you play, the better you'll be. Just go ahead there and be. And I mean, trust me, there's no better place than Toastmasters to learn this skill because everybody will cheer you no matter how you do it, right? Because the point is actually to encourage your, so speech delivery is an important part. I want to give you 3 activities that I want you all to do this. This is a 10-minute daily practice. I think Mehul talked about this learning to learn, right? I want you to do this for 10 minutes and just 1 month, And you let me know if your ability to speak in impromptu does not improve. The first is 2 minutes, verbalize what you see, what you think, and what you feel, right? Just verbalize what you think, what you see, what you think, what you feel. For example, you're sitting right now in this. If I ask you to do it right now, what do you say? Well, I can see a screen right in front of me where Abdul Rahim is standing and pretending to give a speech or give a workshop on that, but I don't know what exactly he's saying. I can't make a sense of what he's saying. Sound is also not good, etc. Okay. I think I've seen a better workshop than this. And whatever he's talking about, if he's talking about Naveen Mishra, I'd better go and learn from him. That's what you're thinking, right? oh, I'm feeling hungry, I ought to go right now. Just do that. You know what this is? This is called stream of consciousness. We all have these processes within us, right? But the power to verbalize them is missing. And that's where the problem happens in table topics. When we go up over there, we can speak for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, but we can't go up 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, just speak on STF. What you see, what you think, what you feel. It could also be at anywhere outside as well. Even if you're sitting on a window, you can actually talk about it, right? So do this for 2 minutes every day. What you think and what you feel. The second exercise I want to tell you, 2 minutes every day, 2 minutes every day, become an object. Become an object. Just look at an object in front of you and imagine you are that object. Now this gives rise to your imagination. This gives rise to your ability to think beyond the obvious. For example, let's say I have a pen right now in front of me, right? Now imagine if I was this pen, where was I born? What happened to me? Whose pen am I? What happened? What were the important things in my life? Just speak, and you must speak for a full 2 minutes. Don't say, well, I'm a Wilson brand pen that was sold in a shop and Abdul Rahim bought it. That's it. No, I've got to speak for 2 minutes. So you've got to write an autobiography of that object or something that it thinks or feels. Or you might say, well, this is the pen on which the, independence signature was made by Jawaharlal Nehru or something like that. Just give your imagination fuel. This is called kind of imaginative exercise. Become an object. 2 minutes again. This will again enhance your imagination, creativity, and our ability to verbalize will increase. The next activity I want to say is 3 minutes. Relate the unrelated. Take two objects which are absolutely different and try to find out what's common between both of them. Well, let's say I have a mouse here and I have a phone here, let's say, right? What's common to both of these? Spend 3 minutes trying to list out all the commonalities. This will again give rise to your ability to think, creativity, as well as linkage to topics, right? Only after this can you come up with that Martin Crowe example. So this is how you've got to think. Okay, what's common, by the way? Can we have it on the chat? I've got a mouse here, a cordless mouse, and I've got a mobile phone over here. What's different? Well, both of them are cordless for one. Both of them are mobile for another, right? What else? Let me see. Yes. Yeah, both are being held by me. Both are black. Both are battery. Both of them have a battery need. Yes, you're right. Both of them can connect me to something remote, right? Both of them rely on technology. One is Bluetooth technology, one is mobile technology. Both of them are portable. Both of them make us lazy. Both of them are input devices. Both are touch screens. We can't take them to swim. You're very right. I'm just saying, just do this exercise and see, you'll find it beautiful. You'll find it beautiful. And after that, I can tell you your ability to visualize will both make us productive. Another one says both make us lazy, but nevertheless, think which is more value added in speaking that. And final exercise, another 3 minutes, which is again about searching your life story. I talked about a quick scan exercise. Just think of anything, or better still, I do this. I have a topic, I have a jar in which I just put random topics, anything. For example, it could be like a pen, a shower, beach, umbrella, lights, camera, laptop, holiday, picnic, anything. And just pick that up and immediately say, that reminds me of the time when, and immediately start speaking on your life story. And all of us, this is just one word cue and something that you will eventually be able to relate to your life. And I'm sure so that will again enable you to enhance your quick scan of your mind and access those stories when you need them. So I think that's about it that I wanted to share with you. I've given you the conceptual foundation of how and why you should actually speak, how you can actually get better at speaking by having various interpretations. Look at what aspect you can cover, use the right frame. The objective is value added, and you've got to use several tools in that. And some of the tools you can enhance through this particular technique. Powerful ways to use them are using transitions and interpretations, quotes, etc. for opening. Use the same structure as you would for a normal speech, and use these 4 exercises for 10 minutes daily practice. I can guarantee you that in 1 month time, you will be at least speaking, you'll be enjoying the speech, as Sachin Tendulkar would say when he went on. The final thought would be Zig Ziglar again. He says, very interesting thing, that obviously your speech cannot be better than your knowledge, your experience, and all of that, right? We are here talking on public speaking, but all this public speaking is an output. What matters is the input. So make sure you read, make sure you think, make sure you spend some time on that. And all that will add up to the stories, to the experiences, to the occasions, to the events that you can actually put out here whenever you get a chance. Because the ultimate purpose of any speech is to value add to the people whom you're taking that time on loan from. So I think that's all I'll leave you all with. Thank you so much. I hope it's been useful, and I hope we can all be better table topic speakers, you and I included. Thank you so much, everyone. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Yeah, Jaita, you have a question? You can ask.
Yeah, hi. This is a question like when you mentioned that verbalize STA, can you put an example just for a better clarity?
Wherever you are, whenever you take this exercise, just what are you seeing right now? What are you thinking right now? And what are you feeling right now? Just verbalize it. Speak 2 minutes on that. It's already within you. There's no content issue in this. It's only an aspect of accessing it and speaking it. So for example, let's say, I'm just saying a hypothetical example. Let's say you are in an airport and your flight is delayed, right? So you can say, I'm sitting in the lobby right now and I can see a lot of people in the passenger who are waiting for their flights to go. Everyone seems grumpy and angry. I'm wondering if I can actually reach on time for the meeting that I had. I'm feeling sort of hungry. I think I'll go to the McDonald's. You see what I'm saying is just continue. The point is to continually speak for 2 minutes. So did you get a sense of it?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Just do that. What do you see? What do you think? What do you feel? Just verbalize that in words. That's the first step. Okay. Panna, you asked, what do you mean by position? Position means my stance. My stance. What is the stand I'm taking on that subject? Okay. So I will be able to take, for example, the one I said in my example, where I said forgiveness is not divine, it's superhuman. That's the stand I took. And then I gave examples for that and call to action. Okay. Shilpa is asking, what if I don't understand the topic's meaning? Good question. This again helps when you are able to read a lot, you'll be able to link it to something. See, it's not a question of, you may not, as I said, the lazy lobster gets carried away by the tide. Many people may not be able to understand the meaning. And at that time, frankly, none of us did understand it beyond just being lazy. But the more you do these exercises, the more you read, the more you are able to listen to other people speaking, you will get a sense of some aspect, some angle of that, some perspective of that on which you'll be able to add value. Again, I'm telling you, it is not a question of understanding and replying. This is not a press conference where people are, in fact, press conferences are perfect examples to also learn how to give table topics. Have you ever seen a person is asking in a press conference a certain question and the person on the other side is answering an absolutely different answer? You see it every day on the 9 p.m. debate, right? But you must tell me about this, the nation wants to know, and he goes on to another thing which only he wants to know. Why is that? Because that is the ability to divert the question to something that is more amenable and suitable to that person. You also will develop that skill to be able to see that one angle which you can speak on, and the objective of being able to add value to that person's will be there. So I think you should be able to do that. These are all the skills. These are all the skills. Okay, then we have another question by Saurabh Thakur. If one writes what one feels in a journal, can it be considered verbalization? No, it can't be, Saurabh. What you write is written communication. What we are looking in impromptu speaking is verbal communication. So please, a lot of us are, in fact, Gandhi, for starters, was a person who was an excellent writer. He was a lawyer as well. But the first time he stood in court to speak, he writes it in his autobiography that the whole court seemed to sway in front of my eyes, and I suddenly felt dizzy and I sat down again. I couldn't speak. So there are several people who can write excellently but cannot speak. And in table topics, we are actually developing the ability to speak. So I would say you can write it, absolutely, but first speak it and then write it. Writing will be helping you to express yourself in a written form, but verbalization will help you in verbal communication. Okay, Bishwaraj asks, in a virtual world, should I stand and answer or should I sit and attempt? Because often standing helps to make gestures. Okay, well, let me tell you, today I'm standing and giving a talk right now. And this is because I heard another speaker recently speak, and he said very interesting thing. He says, you're supposed to think on your feet, not on your behind. So I think it's always better to stand up and speak. I've learned that, and I've decided to do that from now onwards, that whenever I have to speak, I will be always standing up and speaking, because you're supposed to think on your feet, right? So not on your behind. So let's stand up and speak whenever we can. That will be great. I think that's also useful because it gives us more flexibility, and it at least helps you to become more accustomed to the normal way of speaking that we would be speaking if and when COVID goes. Okay, when I start, I get bewildered how to or what to speak. Absolutely, I think Gagandi, all of us go through this, right? Catch that first bewilderment moment and start speaking on that. As I said, let that first thought come to your mind and say, well, that's an amazing topic. Don't say, I don't know what to speak. Just say, well, that's an amazing topic, very interesting topic. And by the time you'll get the next idea. Don't worry. So just go ahead with that first thought, believe in yourself, allow that flow of consciousness to happen, and you'll see the words coming on your own, okay? So, and bewildered means basically internal dialogue. I said, stop that internal dialogue. Don't allow your conscious mind to intervene. Should I say this? Should I say that? Is this right? Is that wrong? You know, somebody said this, I heard this in that workshop. Just forget it. Trust yourself. When Sachin Tendulkar is playing a shot, he doesn't calculate, you know, everything. It just happens automatically. Flow with it. Allow yourself to flow as well, and you will be getting better over time. Don't worry. Okay? Good start with first thought, but struggling to arrange organized thoughts later. Well, Amit Maheshwari, it's almost like first shot is good by Sachin Tendulkar, second shot he doesn't know what to do. Good, no problem. He'll still learn and find out. Go ahead and do it. Do these exercises that I thought about. If you can speak for these 10 minutes continuously, I can guarantee you, you'll be able to arrange your topics within 2 weeks. Just do this exercise for 2 weeks and then let me know if you can't speak. Personally, I'll mentor you. Okay? So find that out. You just commit me for 2 weeks, you want to do this 10-minute exercise every day. And after that, you tell me if it doesn't work, I'll personally mentor you. Okay. Faiz Hussain, immediately bang on, start on the topic, or take few seconds, organize thoughts and start. Okay. Few seconds, okay. Not so much that people start wondering, why is he not started yet? In Toastmasters, we generally have a habit of starting immediately or maybe 5-10 seconds. Now, many people use some technique here called the catch-all hook. So they come up with some standard, so-and-so said this, and it is so prepared that you can almost make out there's a universal topic, you know, and any universal quote, which can be attributed, which can be used for any speech. So somebody will come up and say, well, I don't know if you've heard of this saying, but that's one of my favorite saying, which says, the summit of Mount Everest is made of marine limestone. Do you know that? It's one of the most profound quotes. And somebody said, you know, if all the world's writing was to go, only one line was to remain, then this must be that line. The summit of Mount Everest is made of marine limestone. In the bottommost part, when the two continents crashed, Australia and Asia, and the Himalayas rose, the bottommost part of the ocean became the topmost part of Mount Everest. So it is a fact, by the way, that the top of Mount Everest is made of marine limestone. So for me, that's a fantastic saying. I can use that for the start of every speech if I don't have anything else, but then it appears very artificial. So I don't suggest use this technique. I also don't suggest immediately start off by saying, oh, what an amazing topic and all that. Spend some time, 5 to 10 seconds, 15 seconds also, all right. But don't go beyond that, because then it looks, in competitions and all, we use a lot of techniques. We walk slowly, we shake hands 2-3 times. We do a lot of things to be able to get a little more seconds. But I'll tell you, the more time you take, the more your internal dialogue kicks in. And that stops you from giving a good speech. So it's not great to give a lot of time to your thought. Okay, is humor a compulsory part of a TT speech? No. It makes people laugh and generally have to engage with them easily. See, the main condition of any speech is connect with the audience. Connect. Humor is a good connect if you can do it well. Very poor connect if you can't do it well. A lot of people do get response with humor, but then they're already good in humor, or they have practiced themselves. I'm not saying people are born well or not. No, you heard I also placed somewhere in some humorous speech contest in 10, 12 years back, but that was a lot of effort, a lot of effort. So you can all master humor, no doubt. Maybe the next exercise after these 4 exercises would be to give yourself a humorous talk as well. But I would say, yes, connection with people is important. Humor is optional. Humor without connection is of no use. Okay. So that's there. Okay. Achyut Todi has asked a personal question. How to reduce the impromptu factor. Okay. I started up with this is to preempt the situation. See, as I said, in a table topic, you can't reduce the impromptu impromptu factor. Except by imagining topics, which is like, taking challenging topics around you. And then speaking on them on your own as a practice session before that. But in real life situations, you can definitely preempt. For example, as I said, you may go to any occasion and you be prepared mentally that you're going to be asked to speak. What will you speak? Get that research done beforehand. Don't think, well, I'll think of it on the way. No, you might need to do a little research beforehand. I was at a session where they were talking about political parties and alignments and this and that. And I had gone with the data of the Election Commission of how many parties are registered in India, how many of them have got presence beyond states, etc., etc., etc. So I was not supposed to speak, but when they said, okay, what's your view on that? I said, well, we already have 2,696 parties, and out of which only 8 are national parties, etc., etc., etc. So you see, that preparation appeared to be impromptu over there because nobody knew I was going to speak, or nobody thought I would speak. But when they asked me to speak, I could speak on that. So whenever you are going on any session, be prepared with those things like you would go for a speech. Okay, I have a problem with ranting, like I go on speaking and don't know where and where. Pratiti, a lot of us have that. Now the problem is, okay, let me put it this way. There's a statistic you always hear that the most important stuff or most difficult stuff in the world is public speaking, right? And I believe only 1% in the world people can actually speak well and speak in public. But out of those 1%, only 1% actually add value to the audience when they speak. That's my view. I may be wrong, and I'm sure I'm wrong for the division K that I'm right now at. But the point is, a lot of us think just speaking is enough. Speaking is not enough. Only value adding is enough. If you're not value adding, stop speaking. No matter how profound it is, no matter how ranting it is, it does not matter the quality on which side it is. But if it's not value adding, if you're speaking profoundly, let's say, to a group of children, stop speaking. The point is not to eat up those 2 minutes. In fact, let me tell you another thing. I don't worry at all about using up those 2 minutes. As long as I can speak and I can convey my message and leave a little bit of thirst to that person who would say, I wish he would have spoken a little more, I'll stop. Which gives me an indication I should perhaps stop now, but let me go ahead if I'm not ranting. Okay. Committed. Amit Maheshwari, you're committed. Congratulations. Who's a lucky girl? But no. Okay. Oh, I see. You're committed to the exercise. Good. Okay. By the way, this is one way of dealing with humor, right? Just taking it off the cuff as it comes. It's impromptu. You can't plan for it or make a speech around it, especially this. Okay. Vishwaraj asked a question. How do I go about practicing table topics in my leisure time? Very simple. I'll give you those 4 exercises. Just do them. Pick up challenging topics, put it in a jar, pick out a couple of topics every day and speak on it. Just as you're traveling, as you're walking, just see something and say, oh, table, chair, door, air conditioner, light. Just start speaking. Become that person. Speak for 2 minutes on that. That's one way to do that, Vishwaraj. Satyadeep. Is that the Satyadeep? Satyadeep? Sorry. Your suggestions on what to do if
yes, sir.
Hello, Satyadeep.
Yes, sir.
So nice to see you, sir. Your suggestion?
Sir, your workshop I cannot miss. Yes, sir. Your comments, please.
On what to do if one gets lost on the middle after a good start. No problem. As I said, starting well, go ahead with it. See, I just say trust your conscience. And if it appears that we are not making sense, stop it. That's it. Give a conclusion which goes back to the opening and just get off on a big high level. See, what happens when we run out of ideas. That's when we actually engage our mind. We start thinking, oh no, this was not a good idea. We should have actually changed it. Don't allow that to happen. Trust your sense. And you see, another thing, okay, let me tell you. Dilbert's Omnibus, right? There's a whole book on that by Scott Adams. He writes a very interesting thing in that. I remember reading it. Again, see, this is the power of and the advantage of reading. He says, a well-formatted report cannot be distinguished from a well-written report. All his office techniques, he talks about how to get through in office. So he says, remember, no matter how rubbish your report is, always have it well formatted. So no matter what your content is, always have it delivered well. Like you can see, I'm speaking right now. Speak with that enthusiasm, and the people will also be doubting, where was he lost? He seems to be very excited about it. Must be good. I have been misunderstood. So make up with delivery, make up with enthusiasm, make up with energy, whatever you lack in content or direction. That's one technique. Huh? Judges should not hear this. Okay. I tend to forget the topic after some time. Any tips on this? Okay, Panna. Topic is not important. Your interpretation of the topic is important. But you've got to quote the topic once to be able to make sure the audience or the judges that you are relating to it. I remember there was a session where a Toastmaster misheard a topic and he spoke on that different topic. So that was a giveaway that there's something which is missing. But if you can quote the topic at least first and then speak on it and then emphasize your point, it's enough. You don't need to quote the topic number of times.
Abdul, over here, if I may say, over here, they do not encourage repeating the topic.
Yeah, exactly. So your take on the topic, what I'm trying to say is that, say for instance, I again go back to my example where I said the usual quote is this, but I heard this as the topic. So I was trying to emphasize the difference in the quote from the topic. So that emphasize that. So I'm saying we are not here to repeat the topic. We are not here to echo the topic. We are not here to say I agree or don't agree. You can start with your story right through, but the message of it should emphasize the angle you have taken from within the topic. I mean, going back to my example of the voting part, right? So who would you vote as the best example of the 21st century? So I don't need to repeat the topic. I can go and say, well, that's an interesting topic, but the question is, why vote? What is it about votes? How have votes really worked? Have votes chosen the best people, etc., etc. So you go ahead with it. So I think that choosing the best person is not a matter of vote, but a matter of heart. And that's something, whatever, you can conclude it. So you've not really spoken the same topic, but you've conveyed it that you've understood it in the right sense. And you've emphasized a certain part of it. Is there a curse of knowledge to table topic? How significant is reading and the reading reference, please? Okay. There is a curse of knowledge. Yes, it is. When you know a lot, when you think people know a lot, you tend to be, shall we say, very, very brief on some aspects and not emphasizing enough on. This is something which even I face. Many times when I speak to Toastmasters, we all know what impromptu speaking is. So we talk a lot at a certain level. But when you go to a new audience, they want to know exactly from the beginning. So we give them a different model over there. The way to do this curse of knowledge, Saurabh, it's a very interesting question. I also face this. I myself get bored of giving a prepared speech several times. If I have to give a prepared speech and I have to again give that same speech, I can't do it. And even if I do it, it will look as not being as enthusiastic or as effective. So the way to do it is actually to imagine yourself as hearing it for the first time. Hearing it for the first time. I'll give you a little analogy on that. You've seen most of the films, right? We are told don't memorize speeches and things like that, which is a great idea. But understand this, that in films, all dialogues are memorized. And yet when they are delivered, they appear absolutely instantaneous. I'm not saying we should do that, but what I'm trying to say is that even if you know something, you can always attempt to experience it for the first time. So I'm going to, let's say today I talked about, let's say, Dilbert Omnibus, right? So I talked about that, although I may have known it for some time, but I know that many of you may not know it. So I will talk about that in a little slow way. I said Dilbert, the cartoon by Scott Adams, who always gives us ideas how to survive in an office cubicle. He says this about it. Now, what am I doing? I'm as excited about it as a first timer would be. Just pretend that and play that part. I think that's about it, if I'm not mistaken. Any other questions? I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, yes, I'm committed to Amit Maheshwari so far. Okay. Any other questions so far? No. I think that's about it. I'll hand it back to the Master of Ceremonies for today. That's Ayan.
Thank you so much, DTM Abdul Rahim sir. It was a splendid evening for me. Being a first timer here and attending a workshop and doing the MC thing, I was always scared of table topics whenever they called my name, but I have noted some anecdotes and some theories that I'm sure is going to help me. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are going to get help from this amazing session. I feel so good about myself today that I attended it and actually, savored the waffles of wisdom from you, sir. It was great listening to you. over all this time. And I thank you again for your presence and for all those anecdotes, for all those pictures, and then the stories, then again an advice, and then a wisdom coming up. It was amazing, and we thank you once again. And to lead it from here, I would hand it over to a Toastmaster, Panna, who has been a Toastmaster for 5 years now, and she is currently holding the event chair of Division K. To you, Madam Toastmaster Panna.
Thank you, and keep the applause going for our MC Toastmaster Ayan. You did a wonderful job, Ayan. It did not look like as if it was your first time. Thank you for that. And now I would like to thank our trainer, Abdul Rahim, distinguished Toastmaster Abdul Rahim. Abdul, you were just absolutely awesome. I'm going to do this on a daily basis, your 10 minutes of practice. This is a real good takeaway that you've shared with us, and you will have a tough competition if you go to a contest next time, because we will all be at the same level, hopefully, with you. We aspire at least to be with you. Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Abdul Rahim, for being with us, for sharing your knowledge with us, and for enriching us. I would also like to thank Toastmaster Komal, who was the Sergeant at Arms, Area Director Mehul Popat, for being the host for today, Toastmaster Faiz and Sahil for being the Tech Master. And all you wonderful participants, thank you for being here. For all you wonderful attendees, thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Area Director Seema. Thank you so much, everyone else. And I hope we will have many such enriching sessions in the future. Good night, everyone, and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Panna, for
Thanks.
Thank
I
you.
think
Thank you so much.
I think the biggest thing that has happened in COVID-19 is Abdul Rahim is back in Toastmasters. In that, just like Damini, Govind wapas aa raha hai. So that's the best thing. Seriously, Abdul is back. I think everybody, those who have known Abdul Rahim would agree with me. Whether it's Rohan Nag or it's Seema Ramesh, those who know Abdul Rahim, Abdul is back, and that's probably the best gift that we can have in the midst of this pandemic from Toastmaster. Honestly, I won't want to applaud Abdul Rahim because he's beyond that. Thank you. Thank you, Abdul.
Thank you so much, Shottadeep, for bringing us this idea. It was Toastmaster Shottadeep who suggested this beautiful session of distinguished Toastmaster Abdul Rahim.
It is a loss, Panna. Those who have not attended this session, this 1.5 hours, I thank Division K, I thank you for hosting this. And those who have not attended, I am very blunt. It is just a loss for them. Simply put, it is a loss for them. If they have not heard Abdul Rahim, it is a loss for this,
I think
this 9th September.
He started verbalizing his thoughts and feelings.
No, it's true, Abdul. See, I always speak, I do not sugarcoat, right? I do not sugarcoat like others. I will say what is straight from the heart. It is a loss.
We will have many more sessions like this. I'm sure Abdul will come and share his knowledge with us.
Have one done for ISC before the club contest starts. Make sure. If Abdul did one Facebook Live, I still hold that.
Sure, we will.
Thank you, Panna.
Good evening, everyone. Can I say something? This is Toastmaster Aditya here. Yeah, yes. I'm from EDTM, and I just joined the meeting in last few minutes. But I really want to listen to Abdul sir's advice, and can I have the recording of this session?
Division K PR team will be sharing all the recordings very soon.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I do have to say one thing, ma'am. I mean, this is Ayan again, the MC.
Sure.
So someone is saying like, I mean, those who have not attended this session have surely missed something. I totally agree, because I have never seen Abdul sir speaking. I have seen him on posters. I have seen him on short video clips, maybe 1, 2 or a minute or so. And I always had this, had this curiosity inside me that I want to actually listen to this person. And I'm so grateful today to this platform, and basically to Siva Prasad, who actually told me to do this, and we got connected, Panna ma'am. then this happened today evening. I got to hear from Abdul sir, which is a brilliant experience for me. I kept my notes aside here and I'm seeing those and I'm feeling amazed at what this amazing. Yeah.
We couldn't hear you in between. Okay.
Okay, so that's the reason why I unmuted my, microphone in the middle of the thank you session. I'm sorry for that, but I could not but help to express myself. Maybe it's a reaction of Abdul sir's teachings right now. I could express myself out of the shadow. Thank you so much, Abdul sir. I really loved it.
Great, well done, man.
Thank you so much.
It was not that you were not able to hear. He was speechless by the session that just has gone by.
That is Sheetal's humor.
Yes. No, not humor. It's a pure commendation.
Absolutely.
Know that. It's not humor. I'm not subtle at that. Might learn someday that from you and sir. So it is really enriching. A session which we must be seen by all the Toastmasters. Maybe Division K should come up with the recording, and it is a must watch. It is, as Satyadeep sir has told, that it is something that we need to learn. And before that, I have been trying to practice TT as notable topics, but this will actually give a different dimension. Those 10 minutes of practice and prep, simply awesome. Just a must for every Toastmaster. And Abdul sir, you are a chartered accountant, and even I am a chartered accountant. I have not seen a chartered accountant speaking so fluently ever. Perfectly. I hear my president and all. I'm like, you should give lessons to them as well. My goodness, they are like totally in a different. You must have heard the president we have. My goodness, you are really you need to train these chartered accountants. My goodness, they don't have any knowledge of how to speak like this. I am like. I'm not just like to criticize, but I've heard many people. You're a role model to many chartered accountants who are coming up, and I would really like your video to be seen by the chartered, my friends. I'll tell them, don't say that chartered can't have that interpersonal skills. He's a person whom we can say that we have a chartered accountant who is so proficient. So really nice to know that you are a chartered accountant. And
do you know one more chartered accountant? Pranoy Roy is a chartered accountant.
Which sir?
Pranoy Roy.
Okay.
There are many people who are good speakers, but they are not chartered accountants by profession. That's the only difference. So somehow,
no, sir, I know many chartered accountants who are at very good respectable positions, but the interpersonal skills are not very much there to be seen. We attend sessions and all. That is one of the major factors. That is the only differentiator between us and management students. So we are really losing out on that. Maybe someday we might have that connect with Toastmasters.
Sure.
Okay, sir. Thanks, and it's really a humble feeling to be here, and it's really mind blowing. Thanks, and thanks Panna ma'am for inviting us to this beautiful session. Obviously, looking to learn a lot from you and under the guidance of these master people. I'm really at loss of words. Generally, I'm not, but it is really good to see you guys doing this fabulous stuff. Thanks, and we look forward to having a lot of this. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. Time to say good night and have a dinner now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.